My name is George Foreman III. This is my final CAP presentation for Kinesiology 552 for Cal Baptist University. My population I chose to do my project on is high school boys volleyball players. I chose this population because I once was one. I played high school volleyball from my sophomore year to my senior year. I was captain 2 years in a row. I was also first team all-league my senior year. And some of my former teammates and friends now coach and have asked me to coach. I go to open gyms, and sometimes I go to my friends' teams' practices to help out, run drills and stuff. So I feel like I'm very relatable to this population. So the first of my three main sources. The first one looked at the psychological reasons for sports practice. The main focus was growth and self-esteem, happiness, satisfaction with life, positive peer relationships, and leadership skills. The study broke down the most common motives for sports practice in young people. The first one was enjoyment. I personally experienced losing the enjoyment of playing the sport. I grew up playing soccer before I played volleyball in high school. And my sophomore year, I had really bad coaches and I lost the love of the game. I eventually got it back, so I walked onto the soccer team at my college for my undergrad. The second reason is technical competence. Third is affiliation. And the fourth is physical fitness. This study looked developing skills was found to be most relevant for the practice of volleyball and soccer, which reflects the self-determination theory they discussed in the research. My second source looked at motivation levels in sports by some variables. The study looked to determine the reasons of motivation of sports, high school students, whether these reasons differ according to gender and are individual sports versus team sports. The sports motivation scale was used to determine motivations athletes of three individual sports and 3 team sports had. The study found that motivation of students depended more on intrinsic motivation. An order of importance of these intrinsic motivation factors varied according to individual sports and team sports. Some of the reasons to do sports that the study found. The primary one the athletes found it important to know more about the sport that they participate in, to discover new training and new methods to improve their performance. So pretty much their performance level was their motivation. Reasons that motivated athletes to do team sports, the least were maintaining good relationships with others, sports as a way to meet new people, professionalizing in their sports, so going pro, and being in shape. So pretty much that one is really common in some of the most elite athletes in the world. They really don't, such as Kobe Bryant, growing up, they don't have that many friends. They're always just practicing their sports. I remember playing soccer. I used to either be doing homework or playing soccer or doing something about soccer, and volleyball took over, and I pretty much was all about doing stuff for volleyball. The third source looked at the more goal-oriented behavior and perceived positive consequences for goal achievement and negative consequences of not accomplishing goals. Looked at how it found that both can improve goal achievement and mood. For motivational outcomes, both positive and negative consequences were affected on enhancing motivation. Positive consequences and negative consequences show significant improvement in subjects' readiness for change across time. So the negative consequences and positive consequences set up all the subjects in the study for change across time. And the positive consequences, negative consequences also increase the effort in accomplishing goals. So depending on if there's a consequence that's positive or negative, This study found that they both can affect the effort people put in to achieve goals. And as far as the physical environment, social environment, and family culture, that I was like able to find with these studies, the motives for sports practice article found that the different socioeconomic levels of athletes, families didn't affect motivation to practice. And like I said earlier, the intrinsic motivation of technical competence was the primary factor. So the study pretty much found that people whose families had higher income and people whose families had lower income both practiced to be competent and improve their technical skills in the sport, which makes sense. At a younger age, you don't know any better, so you just practice your sports because should be the only care you have in the world. I know it's always like that. Some of my friends had some bad family situations and family environments that forced them to grow up a lot faster than they would like to. That study also found a major correlation between the level of competition and level of motivation. This goes along with the saying of play the best to be the best, where athletes are highly motivated to beat the best competition. Yeah, that saying has been around for many years. A lot of high profile athletes have said, "Oh, I want to play the best because playing the best brings out the best in me." Example of this would be Allen Iverson's Hall of Fame speech, where he was talking about Kobe Bryant. He called him the Mamba. He said, "To the Mamba, you brought the best in me. We battled out like some dogs, and I always appreciate that from you." And low practice time was found to be the most prevalent in athletes who had lower motivation for participating in group activities. So some people just don't like being parts of groups. I think they're considered introverts, and so they don't practice. And some people just feel like they're better at practicing on their own. I personally kind of like this when I lift weights. I like to lift by myself, man, because like I know what I want to do, and I don't like waiting for other people. That's just me, and it's hard for me to get away from that. And as I work, there you go. Let's continue physical, environmental, social, environmental, and family culture. Extrinsic motivation was seen most from the low-income family athlete in the form of praise as a means to get out of the low-income situation. So this is seen in a lot of football players who end up going pro. They pretty much come from nothing. That's their environment. So getting out of that environment and living in a nice big house. You hear a lot of football players, "Oh, I want to buy my mom a nice big house." That's the extrinsic motivation that they saw was a common theme for the lower income athletes in the study. Like I said earlier, extrinsic motivations of meeting people and being in shape were the lowest factors of motivation. Most of the time, kids don't feel like being in shape is a thing because their metabolisms are pretty fast, and a lot of times they could eat what they want and not gain a pound. Don't worry about it. Team dynamic plays a big important part when it comes to volleyball and pretty much any team sport. Because team dynamic comes from the different characters that are on a team. I know one GIF or meme I saw on the internet was about, you want to see the most diverse place, just look at a high school football locker room, which is true. Being from the area I grew up, I remember my football team was super diverse. It had pretty much every ethnic group, every religion, Everyone got along. I feel like as people get older, they lose that, and it's a shame. And like the arousal goes up and down depending on if it's game day or not. A big way to deal with the arousal for any sport, just like volleyball, deep breathing and mental self-talk about preparing for the game or the match. Reinforcements that come with playing volleyball can come from high school athletic director. Athletic director can say, "Oh, if you guys do really well, we get more money from the boosters, or I'll be able to allocate more funds for your program and be able to get new uniforms, redo the gym floor, and stuff like that." That's positive reinforcements. Some negative reinforcements can be if the team's acting up, conditioning, touching lines, suicides. I did plenty of those playing. I had some of my knuckleheaded friends on the team with me, and they would either mouth off to the coach or do something, so we all had to run. Drills and tasks could also be a negative reinforcements. These two things are negative reinforcements because they're seen as something that the players don't want to do, that they have a negative attitude towards. For volleyball, these drills and tasks could be putting up the nets, or taking down the nets, or calling lines for during JV or varsity games. Yeah, let's also go with team dynamic. Team dynamic can create positive peer pressure for more lazy, going through the motion type players to be more motivated in play. Team dynamic will also influence positive and negative reinforcements, like I said earlier. And also comes anxiety. Then I think I mentioned this earlier. Anxiety may come from not being able to play club volleyball outside of high school, the high school team, because the family's income is too low to afford it. I know a lot of the club levels for any sports cost a lot of money, and not everyone's family has the means to do that. A player may be motivated to, get like a weekend job during the off season, or do something to get the money in order to participate in club volleyball. Also, higher income family athletes can afford private lessons and sessions with coaches, which goes along with tends to be some. I know when I played, none of us played club volleyball, and we played a lot of teams that had players that played year round, and we played well against them. But there's always always a little bit better than us because they played year round and could do private lessons. And some of my friends actually do private lessons now. As far as the high school environment goes for volleyball, the gym floor, I played on many gym floors, many gyms playing for 3 years. Some of the lines are hard to see. Lights in the gym affect how you see. I know in our gym at my high school, the lights were circles, and every once in a while, when the ball went up and passed in front of the light, you lost it, and it ended up being like a dead ball because you lost it in the lights. Air conditioning can be a big factor. My high school gym still doesn't have AC in the gym, and so to overcome that, you just gotta stay hydrated and you can wear dry fit type shirts that take the sweat off your body, so you stay cool. When you go into a gym that you're unfamiliar with, you really gotta look at if there's anything hanging from the ceilings, such as ribbons, speakers, and the rafters. Ceiling height's a big thing with volleyball, as if the ball touches anything, go over the net, the other team gets the point. Some non-physical factors that affect volleyball players are friends. Friends can support you. Some friends don't support you when it comes to high school. It's very up and down. Dating life, it's high school. The significant others play a big factor, as teenagers can be very emotional. It's hard to keep their hormones in check and have them understand that Most of them won't be with the person they like in high school that long. And schoolwork, playing a sport and having schoolwork teaches the students how to do time management very well. As far as supportive systems go, some families support players more than others. Um, the support the family comes, especially in high school, not all of them will be able to drive. So, because the transportation is a big means, fundraising, they could donate to the team for new uniforms or play for tournaments and give match attendance. It's always good to have a good crowd that supports you during the match, cheering for you and stuff. And attitude towards the sports. Not everyone likes volleyball, understands it. So some people just won't go or support a player who's playing volleyball because they might consider it a random sport. And coaching level is a big one. I've had some good coaches in all the sports I played and some bad coaches. Some knew what they were doing, some didn't. A good way to overcome bad coaching would be to go to open gyms at volleyball and see if you could get some drills and work on some of your skills at the open gym volleyball sessions that help you improve your game. So you almost got to go around your coach. Coaching style. There's numerous coaching styles. Some work for some players and some aren't effective for some players. That's a hard one to deal with. Like I said, I had bad coaches, good coaches for all the sports I played. And some on the coaching level also dictates the strategy they use. Some coaches just don't know how to strategize for the game of volleyball because there's a lot of nuances that come with it. That's all and stuff like that. Barriers. There are numerous barriers that high school volleyball players may face. One of them could be perceived lack of improvement because volleyball is a very skill-oriented sport and players may feel they're not developing the skills to play better, such as serving inbound, shanking passes, and getting called on spin sets. To overcome some of these barriers, players need reassurance that practicing proper fundamentals to the point that their second nature is key. That improvement takes time and does not occur overnight. One strategy to help with this barrier is to watch game film. Game films done by numerous sports, such as football and on the pro level, and soccer, game or practice film, so players can visually see what they're doing wrong and then mentally try to improve that. And they can also track how they're improving on those skills. Let's see. Negative self-talk can come from difficulties with learning new skills for the sport, such as jump serves and different sets. To overcome negative self-talk with positive positive self-talk is the best way to overcome negative self-talk. Negative self-talk example would be positive self-talk example would be I'm going to get jump serving down, or my sets for a 1 or a back 5 will be really nice. Just like reassuring, just like I'm gonna get jump serving down. It took me a while to get jump serving down. Then when I got it, I was super happy. Developed that skill and still got it. Oh, let me go back. We'll talk more about the barriers. Inexperience is a big barrier for volleyball players. Inexperience playing volleyball, or any sport in that matter, can be a major barrier. Often people are hesitant to try new activities. High schoolers tend to be very self-conscious about doing new activities and are afraid to fail and to be bad or get made fun of. It's high school. They're very self-conscious. To overcome this, for the population, to overcome this barrier, explaining that everyone who plays volleyball or a sport was new at one time. And no one's really ever going to pick up a volleyball, basketball, or football, and be pro on the first get go when they first started the activity. And just like playing more and more will develop the skills and techniques needed to play better and have confidence. So you play more to build the confidence in any sport. Another barrier can be injuries. Throughout the course of the season, athletes become injured or hurt and which will stop their ability to practice and play. To overcome this, adhering to the rehab program designated by the athletic trainer is key. Also, modified drills, if they're able to move around in certain ways, they do modified drills. I know, like my setter one time sprained his ankle, and he pretty much does this set from like a chair. So it helped us pass to target and helped him set. So yeah, that's a good one. Modification of some drills. Best strategy though is mental reps, which has the athlete use imagery to picture their self playing. A common strategy which is used in many sports. So it's like, so if they're on the sideline, just imagine what they would do in certain game situations, picturing themselves like, oh, like if I got a perfect pass and they shift it over one way, I can throw that back set for that 5 and it'd be open all day. Or help them really look at other people's approaches, see what they're doing wrong, and make mental notes that they don't do what the other person's doing wrong for their approach when they go to hit. Let's see, the 4 factors. Here are 2 of the 4 factors. High school environment, kind of touched on that earlier. And coaching. Good coaches. Coaching is really big. Good coaches understand the needs of their players' development and performance. These coaches simultaneously win games and matches while bettering their players as athletes. These coaches will use the right strategies to get the best out of their players while avoiding burning them out. Burnout's a major thing to avoid. I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist. There's like a whole chapter or part of a chapter on burnout, especially with these high school kids. When I was a stretch therapist, one of my clients' daughters was playing soccer, and she took her over to England with her club team to practice at the Manchester United facilities, which is a big expensive trip. And she ended up quitting soccer for like a year and a half after that. And she just got burnt out. And then by the time she was like in the middle of high school, she started playing soccer again. So just gotta avoid burnout. On the flip side with coaching though, like I said earlier, love and experience can hinder development of players. This may go hand in hand with not putting the players in the best situation to win. And it could be to win and to be successful. Like I said earlier, poor coaching can be overcame by players going to open gym sessions at local volleyball club locations where they can receive tips and techniques on developing skills to succeed. And high school environment, setting, social life, went over that also. I know with high schooler volleyball players and high schoolers in general, and anyone playing a sport, the ideal performance state is really hard to accomplish. That's where you have a narrow focus. Time seems to slow down. I can recall certain times playing soccer where I was dialed in, and everything seemed to slow down, and it just another trait of being in that ideal performance state is like complete self-control of your body and not affected by certain situations that might be going on in the game. Another factor that affects performance in their volleyball players in high school, the home gym players get used to the environment, the lights, the color of the lines, like I discussed earlier, the distance of the court from the bleachers. Away games requires fast adaptability to all these factors from the home gym. that are different. Some factors such as the color of the court lines require more focus. I played in courts where the lines and the lights made them hard to see, so I was hitting out a lot, so I had to like really focus on where I was hitting. Like I discussed earlier, the temperature. Some gyms have AC, some don't, so you just gotta hydrate and just know. Hopefully, you're hydrated enough. Four factors continue. Let's see. Yeah, family support varies from player to player. Um, like I discussed earlier, transportation is key. A way to overcome low family support would be to really like get like a give another one or two other teammates families if like you give them if you can if a player could receive a ride home from practice, tournaments, or matches. It really goes very high, low. I had, I had friends of mine, or teammates of mine when I played high school volleyball that always needed a ride home. My mom was really nice and gave them a ride home. And motivation, high school, like all high school sports, there's different motivations for participation. Athletic scholarships one. Some players may want to play in college and receive athletic scholarships that they'll have to take out so that they could play in college, play the sport, play the sport in college, and not to worry about paying for college. Extracurricular activities. Some players may just need some extracurricular activity to look at on the transcripts for college. Some people just might want to try a new sport. I remember every season I played, we had people just out there trying new sports, see if they could like it or not. And some people are forced to play. This is a big factor because a lot of people I know, their parents played certain sports and they make them play. Sometimes it goes over well. A lot of times it doesn't. It's just a big factor that, especially with high school sports, you gotta be able to deal with as a player, teammate, or coach. Here's a chart. This chart shows, was posted by the NCAA on Twitter. It shows how boys volleyball especially, boys volleyball has increased in popularity by 12%. This is from 2011 to 2016. I know I needed to put a chart on here, so this is our chart and pictures. This one's the main one I put. And as far as my Bible verse that I would use as my mission statement, I chose a couple of them, or a section. Genesis 50, verse 19 through 21. This is the one where Joseph was talking to his brothers who betrayed him. I chose this verse because it was spoken at the memorial for Ermias Joseph Ashkadam, who's also known as the rapper Nipsey Hussle. I chose this because he was a rapper from LA who was a major league in the community and had a big following because of all the things he was doing to better the lives of people like him. And he was shot and killed. And I chose this one because it was someone he was originally helping that shot and killed him. I'm not saying. So I chose this one because dealing with high schoolers in general, they make it very difficult, and you gotta have them realize that you're there to help them develop as not only as players and student athletes, but as people. And it brings a lot. That's a big challenge for them to comprehend because all their hormones and emotions and teenage angst. So that's why I chose that because I was like, because I feel like if I were to work with them, I could really help them develop. I've done it as a stretch therapist. I've had the shift I worked. I worked with a lot of the kids and younger clients that we had. It's because when they were a lot of high schoolers, I played different sports and really gave them workout tips for their sports. As I'm a certified strength conditioning specialist, and I've had I think about 4 clients going to play D1 and D2 sports in college. And so yeah, that Genesis 50 verse 19 to 20 are those like the ones I chose. And what I learned from this class, I found it really interesting in learning about the different barriers people face when it comes to physical activity, and how the strategies can be applied to multiple barriers at the same time. And after this program, I plan on really getting into strength conditioning side of the kinesiology realm, and I really look forward to like using those strategies against barriers to help my clients. I feel like those strategies will be very useful tools. Here's my references, and that was my presentation. Here's all of them. That's the presentation for my final CAT. My name is George Foreman III. Thank you.